Butlers, Assumptions and Artillery. So what's this? Lils asks. As she reclines next to Bjorn, there had been a fast and furious few games of cards for who was sharing the easy chair with him, and she had won, and then cackled about it for 10 minutes straight. Well, you can recognize the lady, right? Bjorn says as he indicates the screen. That's the mother of Ashina. Her name? Why is it escaping me right now? Holly demands. Magala, I think, Bjorn says. She's decided to come aboard. This is her evaluation test. She claimed to be the equivalent of special forces. This is where she proves it. And it's all holograms? Has to be. We can't casually blow buildings or kill people every time we just want to see what someone can do. So she gets a simulated arcology with tools and targets. It's up to her to figure out the rest, Bjorn says. That sounded familiar. I've run a couple of these where I had to deal with enemy forces trying to take out the supports of the arcology and collapse it on itself. It was the days I came back and needed a nap, a snack, and a shower. Bjorn explains as it shows Magala studying the plans of the arcology before finally nodding. She has a long coat where she has hidden several weapons and goes past her claws. It's rolled up over the organic one, but the robotic claw is hidden under the sleeve. She then leaves her safe house and looks around. Some information shows up on screen. Security level. Standard, targets 5. Enemy combatants, 53. Civilians, 82. 974. 403. Neutral combatants, 10,430 police officers. 942 private security. 527 common criminals. So what's the goal? Salas asks as Magala begins walking through the area and begins going from place to place like she's window shopping. She's got 5 targets, a security level, enemy combatants, civilians, and neutral combatants. Clearly, it's to see how well she can navigate the area, get her targets, get around the enemies and neutral parties without civilian casualties. Which means she needs to find her enemy without being found, and only engage in places where there's no civvies. At least that's how I see it. She could have gotten any number of orders, up to and including a combination of a hit list and a protective detail, or even extraction target. So she may have to kill some of them, extract others, or more. I don't know her targets, so she might even be stealing sensitive info or kidnapping. We just have to wait and see, Bjorn explains. Things get complicated fast in military situations. Yes they do, Holly says before shaking her head and clearing away the smell of blood slowly creeping up on her. So how well did she do? Vera asks as she reclines against Holly and Bjorn chuckles. Apparently Admiral Crosswind is very eager to get people trained up, and I might very well be getting some of it. Bjorn says as they watch Magala wander up several levels and then go into a business before begging to use the bathroom. She then phases through the wall after being left alone. The only impression she made on the proprietor was someone promising to be out in no time at all and not to make a mess. Through the wall, she's in the storage room, slips between all the containers with her hood up and her sleeves down to hide her claws. Her tail is tucked up under her jacket, and she could easily be a Tret, Alfar, Erumenta, or really any bipedal race, and doesn't so much avoid the cameras as veils her proper profile. After all, a woman who goes around with her claws showing and her tail held high, she wouldn't even be considered as the person she's disguised as now. Shifting the profile is a powerful step in disguising yourself. She then shows up in a hallway behind guards and shifts through the wall before they turn. She then stays in the wall and then emerges after a bit with her robotic claw full of small components and wires. She's clearly been sabotaging things and the security camera is down, but they can still see her in front of a reinforced door, even as her robotic claw shifts and pops out the laser panels before firing the 3 beams into a singular place. She goes at the locking mechanism of the door, and after a few moments the lock is destroyed, and she pushes the blazing hot door open. 3 steps into the formerly secured room, and she starts examining the many lock cases in the walls. She opens a small bundle of them and empties the contents into her expanded pockets. The number of targets goes down by 1. Then she visibly considers things and then leaving the vault and fading into the wall again. She reemerges in the warehouse and then phases through the floor. She lands in a room where there are several guards on break and everyone freezes. That wasn't on the plans. She notes before everyone begins to move. She dodges a point-blank laser pistol that her mechanical claw then crushes before backhanding the wielder into a wall, even as her tail lashes out to sting the woman running. The runner falls to the floor bonelessly, even as Mangowa's forced to catch a stool being swung at her in her organic claw. A twist of her wrist and further clamping down of the claw breaks the stool, and she hits the woman with her robotic one in a massive punch that she uses the momentum to roll and dodge a plasma burst and land on the floor on her back before kicking the table at the shooter, then rolling again. The plasma eats the table, but the smoke it kicks up blinds the shooter just long enough for the stinger tail to catch her in the neck. Well, there goes subtle. She notes as the number for private security goes down to 938. She then checks the way out and considers. The blueprint and business registry was out of date. Of course. Damn it. If the residential registry is out of date also, then I've got some hunting ahead of me. Cool. It's like watching an action movie, Irma says. We have drama, action, and mystery, and I can probably find her and ask her about it after. This is awesome. Does anyone know which thing she grabbed was the target? Salas asked. Third one, the number went down when she shoved it in her pocket. Lil says. It was a hard drive. There's information on it, Bjorn says. Good eye, Lils. Lils snuggles into him all the deeper as Mangowa can be seen slipping out of the building she had inadvertently broken into, muttering to herself how it was supposed to be between owners, and this was supposed to be the moment she could relax between targets. She manages to get outside by slipping into the floor and clambering to the underside like the arachnid she evolved from, and scuttles along it with her claws grasping onto the pipes before phasing up in public and then looking around to scan the area. She then starts walking along and listening to people talk. After a short time, she starts asking for directions, saying that a friend was inebriated when she gave directions and still recovering. The directions send her up a floor, and she makes a point of being seen as part of a few small crowds as she walks by an area. A woman clearly on guard spots her and then follows. The security level raises to aware. Mangowa lures the woman into an alleyway and seems to try and run even as the woman pursues. Then the guard finds a robotic claw crashing into the top of her head and collapses like a puppet with its strings cut. The number of enemy combatants goes down to 52. Mangowa frisks her fast, and once she confirms it's an enemy combatant and not a civilian, she phases the unconscious body through the floor and snips her neck open, killing her in her sleep. She then partially phases through the nearby wall, but is physically stopped by tritite plating. She frowns at that and then checks the area again. No one else is coming, and she morphs her claw into the cutting beam configuration. The tritite may be effectively immune to axiom, but beyond that it's basically off-color iron, and iron is easily cut through. After a little bit, she pulls the tritite plating out of position and moves it to the side inside the wall, then walks through the doorway she made. She emerges right next to someone who starts to move, and the stinger zips in and jams her in the side. She falls and she catches the woman's body and lowers it gently to the floor. She then goes to the next door and opens it slightly to glance through. The room is empty, and she walks in and slides through the room looking around for some hint of the target. Then she opens the door to the next room and finds a stasis chamber. All right, time for the hard part, she says as she hears confusion before smirking to herself and sliding through the room's age-in. She pokes through the gap in the tritite and examines the alleyway. She then picks up the body and hoists it up and shifts through the wall once more. Moments later, she's deactivating the stasis and the girl inside is still out cold. She moves the girl out and levers in the dead body before reactivating the stasis. She adjusts her jacket and her right claw is now out of the sleeve as she scoops up the girl and holds her close. A bit of adjustment with her robotic claw and she covers the girl before moving out. She starts to phase them both and slips out before ducking back in through the hole in the tritite. The other guards are there. She starts drawing on the axiom more and smooths it, softens it, and blends it with the background before walking through the wall again as she turns completely invisible. Walking softly, silently, unseen and untouchable, but slowly, very slowly, as she walks away with her second target of 5. The number goes down to 3 as she clears the alleyway and phases back into sight when out of sight of the guards. So, a smooth retrieval and a literally invisible extraction, Bjorn says approvingly. Maybe we should take a bit of a break. She's been at this for nearly an hour, Holly says as she pauses the video. You just want to replay me for Bjorn's lap. Lils teases. Yes, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong, Holly says, and Lil sighs before kissing Bjorn on the jaw and hopping up and stretching. Bjorn rises next and considers. I do need to hit the bathroom anyways, so please girls, don't break anything while deciding who sits where next, Bjorn says, and by the time he comes back, Holly is sulking in her own chair and Irma is gesturing for him to sit with her. Not ended well, he asks Holly, and she lets out an annoyed huff. Why haven't you taught me how to do any of those things? Ashina asks her mother, who turns to give her an unimpressed look. The meal they're sharing isn't expensive, but it's far from bad. It's a tasty noodle and broth-based affair with all sorts of little bits of veggie and meat sticking to things, a few sauces made to taste like the human ones, and it was apparently close to something called Vietnamese pho. It was good. You mean aside from the fact that it's my claw that's doing a lot of the heavy work? Migala asked. Yes, and the fact that I was literally avoiding deadly laser fire without a shield or armor in order to keep moving? Yes, and that you've never expressed any interest in welding, architecture, or any number of the other skills I needed to use in there? Ashina trails off. But how will working at some overstock store or dancing around with a group of idiots help me? You mean beyond teaching you about all sorts of little things and getting you stronger? I'm not just punishing you, Ashina. I'm teaching you. I'm putting you in places where you can learn so very, very much. If you just pay attention. Now think about it. What can you learn from working in an overstock store? Nothing. It's boring. They have me double-checking what the robots do and running algorithms to stop code degradation in the stupid things. A toddler could do that. So understanding what's being bought and what's not on a planetary scale is useless? Learning about drone coding has no value? Migala asked pointedly. When can I use those? If there's a shortage of something, then it sells high, meaning you can make easy money. And drones are used all over the place for all the dirty, boring, and demanding jobs that people don't like doing. If you know what makes a drone go, then you can take control of them. Or better yet, get the drone doing a little something extra, turn it into your spy. Your little store is good on it, but it's rare for people to actually pay as much attention to potential code corruption as that store. They're probably doing it only because they have you and they don't actually need the extra help. In the dancing? Ashina asked. Did you see the way I moved? When I landed on that table, it was a dance where people were in the way of my flailing pincers as much as anything else. So, are the only useless skills the ones you don't use? Ashina asked, and her mother smiles. Yes, that's exactly it. I have no weapons incorporated into my cybernetic pincer, because that's overkill. The tools and the skills to use them is all I need, and it has the added bonus of being completely legal. Migala explains. But, Ashina, there is no skill that is illegal to have. They're the tools and power that no one can take from you, Migala says, and Ashina grows quiet and starts to really think. Migala smiles again.